Hi everybody, I'm here in Salt Lake at the Volunteers of America Homeless Youth Resource Center.
That's it.
And I'm here with Tanya, and she's the youth clinician, which is the title.
Right.
But basically you're the counselor, therapist, friend, mom for all the homeless youth that come through this door.
Right.
It's a tough gig.
It is.
What are you seeing?
We are seeing lots and lots of psychosis lately, actually. And it sometimes takes a while to tease out whether that's from substance use or whether it's more deeply organic. We're seeing a lot of developmental delay. We're seeing lots of trauma. That's probably the one consistent thing that every youth that walks through our doors has some sort of pretty severe trauma. We're seeing a lot of failed adoptions. We're seeing a lot of LGBTQ youth that have left their homes of origin because it's not a safe environment for them anymore, because they've been asked to leave.
Right.
So anecdotally, that's what I'm seeing.
And in what ages?
The center serves 15 to 22. Most of the kids that I sit down with are probably 19 to 21, 22, right in there.
And we were talking earlier that you're seeing an increase of schizophrenia.
Yeah, that seems to be the kind of the go-to thing right now is schizophrenia. Lots of paranoia. We've got one young man who's exhibiting some catatonic schizophrenia.
No, but that's not from the trauma.
No, that's a pretty organic disorder.
Right, but it can be genetic.
Mm-hmm.
So where I'm going at is that the schizophrenia, and from what you're telling me, that it doesn't really show until you're 15 or so.
Right. So it usually, late adolescence, young adulthood is when it first emerges.
So, but it could be generational. So you have schizophrenic mom, schizophrenic dad, and then schizophrenic kid start showing signs at 15. You have a very volatile homeless. I mean, a home.
You do, because you're combining, the age with the hormones, with all the social growth that happens at that age, the emotional growth, and you throw in some stuff going on with your mind that you can't make sense of, and
So what's the solution? What is the solution for people, young adults out on the streets with mental illness?
If I had a one-word answer to that, we'd solve this problem that quick.
Yeah.
I think the most general solution would be to stop acting like it's some kind of moral deficiency when a mental illness emerges, especially something like schizophrenia, and start recognizing it like we do diabetes, like we do cancer, as a legitimate illness that isn't through anybody's fault. And to teach our youth and the people who are loving them or supposed to be loving them through it that they're not doing anything wrong. They're coping with something that's impossible to cope with. And to do it with love and without judgment, and to recognize that it's scary for them as well. And if they recognize that it's safe and that they have value with or without mental illness, then we can start treating it. We can start interventions that would work, but without that basis of, I haven't done anything wrong, I'm a good person who's dealing with mental illness, it's hard to do much work past that.
What do you think the general public doesn't know about youth homelessness that they should?
I think there's a lot of things the general public doesn't know.
Well, okay, give us 3 or 4.
Oh, and I moved. One is that homelessness is not brought on because of any kind of moral deficiency. It's not something that needs punished or judged. It's something that is situational and out of the control for the most part of these kids, especially young people.
Right.
They haven't had that much time to screw up too much.
Right.
They are surviving the only way they know how.
Right.
And if we recognized youth who are experiencing homelessness as survivors, who are surviving outside of the norm, outside of the box, and recognize them for their creativity and their strength.
Because they're still kids.
They are still kids, and they've survived what most of us couldn't.
I interviewed 2 kids today, and young adults, I should say, and both of them left home because homeless was better than home, and it was mainly because of parents using drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, that's not their fault.
Right.
So now they're out on the streets and have to raise themselves. One tempted to go to school, which is, so it's not their fault. That's one. What else? You said you had others.
They're strong. Like, in a way, I mean, it takes strength to leave a home that's not safe if you're not old enough to care for yourself. Recognize these as above average kids. You know, these are strong kids. I think something else the general public needs to know is these are not lazy kids. It takes a lot of work to survive homelessness. And I think it's easier to categorize them as lazy, not wanting to go to school, not wanting to work, that's the ultimate solution. And it's not laziness at all.
Right.
It's access. It's understanding when they get to school from their peers, from their educators. It's understanding on the part of the community. And it's also creating educational places and workplaces that can meet the specific needs of kids experiencing homelessness, where maybe the hour isn't quite so absolute because your relationship with time can be a little bit different when you're on the streets. That we work around instead of traditional school hours, that we do a block in the morning, a block in the evening to allow them to access meals at places like our center or some of the other places downtown, and then come back and work again.
You reminded me, the typical view of that homeless girl or boy is, they're punk or rebellious or whatever, and it's almost like their fault. And I know, at least in Los Angeles, a lot of the little girls punk out for survival.
They do.
Because now they're not valuable to that pimp because they have all these jewelry in their nose, which is expensive. But there's this whole subculture of people apprenticing to be piercers that come up and say, "Here, little girl, let me put a ring in your nose."
Right.
You know what I mean? And then so then you end up, they are going to have obvious, social issues growing up and trying to fit in. Which brings me up to my question to you. Do you see a lot of travelers?
We see some travelers. I don't know what they would be percentage-wise as far as the population we serve, but they're fairly distinctive, kind of a distinctive subset of people experiencing homelessness.
Exactly. And my worry is nutrition, because I look at the lifestyle and it's that hippie, and I'm an old hippie, and I go, oh, that's great. Let's travel.
Right.
Let's hop trains. Let's have our dog, guitar. This is fun. Panhandle a little. This is great. But then, you get into your 20s and your 30s and you have no job experience, nutrition, your development. I mean, how does a child develop out on the streets?
The best they can.
That's a good answer.
The best they can. I think what they're looking for most is nurturing and acceptance, and travelers get that from each other.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily an age differential, but they get it from each other. They
It's a
form
clique.
Street families.
Yeah,
not
you
just
see that
travelers.
in all homelessness. So I could talk to you forever. I really
Ditto.
can. I love this conversation, and I know about enough of psychology to be dangerous, but try to keep these videos short. How can people support the work here at the VOA?
Come by and see us. See what we're all about. And when you see somebody on the street that looks like maybe they don't fit in, see them as a human being and not as a homeless person.
Yeah. Well, everybody, this is thanks to support of Virgin Mobile and Sevenly. We're doing a road trip, traveling the country, highlighting homeless youth. And I want to thank you, Tanya, for this great
Mark.
conversation.
Thanks for coming by and taking some time with us.